Welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur, where we talk to the entrepreneurs who are making it happen across Canada and deliver the news, trends, knowledge, and opinions from entrepreneurs and business influencers across the country. So, Mike, or Crooksy, I don't know what to call you, just forever, just so as we divulge everything, it's kind of fun every so often. Somebody comes on from my past, and Mike is an entrepreneur who happened to go to school with high school with my son, and it's been interesting to see that particular gang of guys grow up, and quite a few entrepreneurs in there, Mike being one of them. Mike, welcome to Canada's Entrepreneur. It's great to have you on. And
thank you.
Before I get into a long story about some of the things you guys got up to, why don't you get a bit deeper into your entrepreneurial journey? Give us a 2 to 4 minute summary of who Mike is. Why he's an entrepreneur, what area, what the business is in, some of those things that people might find interesting.
Well, thank you again I'm honored to be part of this today, and flattered, to be honest. So to give you a little rundown of Mike Crooks and kind of my experience in life, I did spend a lot of time in your pool backyard, by the way, jumping off that little roof. That was a lot of fun. That we escaped to your place quite often in nicer weather. So you know what, I've spent my really over 30 plus years now in the hospitality business. I think I had always been a dream to be an actor, and I had gone off to school to be an actor. And I just don't know if I had the ego for it. I'm not much of a self-promoter. And as like most people searching for acting life, tend to end up in the hospitality industry because it suits the hours. And my claim to fame in acting is that I paid my bills probably for about 6 months, touring as a touring performer, doing sketch comedy, which was great. But then you end up meeting the love of your life, and dreams change, and you follow different paths. And I ended up leaving Toronto and coming back home to Burlington in the Hamilton area, and settling down. And I'd always kind of done quite well in the hospitality industry, and I'd always kind of been promoted to upper management or general management in the roles I've had. And I worked for many years for a Burlington institution called Emma's Back Porch, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth in the industry and worked with two entrepreneurs that I look as mentors. And from there, I went on to run the Hamilton Convention Center downtown, and again in an upper management role, and that propelled me to other opportunities. And my most recent one was to open up a very large facility in Caledonia with several restaurants and a banquet facility, and it was great. But I had always wanted to own my own business, and I really didn't know if it was going to be the restaurant business. But my first actual endeavor to leave the business was to open up a dog daycare business. And it's still running today, even though I don't run it. My wife took it on 5 years ago now, and it's a home-based business, but it's incredibly successful. And my wife fully runs it. But that was my first endeavor into doing my own thing, being my own boss. I think for me, always having a notch on the belt, a life experience, has always been important for me. And it got to a point in my life where I just didn't want to work for anybody anymore. I wanted to be my own boss. I'm self-driven when it comes to work. Procrastinate at home, don't get me wrong, but at work I am very self-driven. And the dog daycare business I ran for a short period of time, but then an opportunity came up to purchase a restaurant venue just down the street from where I live. And although I wasn't super eager about getting back into the hospitality business because it is difficult, it was close to home. It was an opportunity to improve my community pub, community restaurant that was existing before, but was not a desirable place to go. And the food program just wasn't there. And so we took the leap. And 3 years ago, we opened up almost to this 3 years ago to last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we've opened up to great success. I think after 30 some odd years of being in this business, especially on a management level, you kind of you should have what it takes to do something like this. And although it's a small restaurant, it's exceeding expectations, and it's been really very, very rewarding. To be completely honest with you, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
That's, yeah, and I could only say, that being somewhat of a regular there, that Cruxy's is a pretty darn good place. For those that don't know it, it's on Beach Boulevard, just sort of Hamilton, Burlington area, basically.
Mhm.
So you think entrepreneurs are wired differently? I mean, why do you're a recent entrepreneur, really. I mean, in a way, because you most of the time you work for others
Right.
in the same business, but that's a different thing when you're working for people. What made you step outside? You know, I'm just curious.
I think I'd always kind of had that in me. Obviously, finances is one thing. Taking that leap, having that the willingness to be in debt and to go through that is difficult for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people that their work is their work and they go home and turn it off. And I've just never been in a position where I can do that. Running a convention center, running large restaurants, it's always on the back of your mind. It's always there. You're always kind of on call. You're entrusting people to do your role or to do as good of a job as you're going to do when you're not there. And even though I'm getting a paycheck from somebody else, it was really very much, I felt like an entrepreneur. I felt like I was an entrepreneur. And so when the opportunity really came up to kind of dive in and do my own thing, and yeah, it was with this dog daycare business that was a little bit of a leap of faith, but and then into this restaurant, I think was at a point of like, I'm already doing this. Why don't I just do it for myself? And when I think about some, even close friends of mine or even family, I think a lot of people are really just, when it comes to work, it is just work. And I find that I'm only really good at my job when I have a passion for it and when I care about it. And I really am one of those old school attitudes of, get fulfillment from what you spend most of your day doing. And if you're not getting any fulfillment from it, then it can be a sad life. It can be sad. And, if you're not going to work with maybe it's a little stress on the mind, or maybe a little bit of what am I going to get done today? Or how much do I have to do today? That can be frustrating in anybody's life. But when you're doing it for yourself, it's freeing, to be completely honest with you. I really find it freeing.
So what, I mean, that freedom thing, what's best about being an entrepreneur versus being an employee?
Well, for again, the use of being creative, being able to kind of make that final decision, the one that can, be a little bit different, when you're working for someone else. And I'm going to relate back to hospitality or like anything in sales, where this whole aura of this, treat the customer so well, and if they're upset, you've got to react this way, and you have to make sure that you don't get in trouble because of somebody else's actions, and all these politics that get involved. And the freeing side of it for me is, even I have a staff of 15 now, and so maybe that's restricting me a little bit more than when I first opened up with way less staff, and I worked a lot more at the restaurant. But it's freeing for me because I can make the decisions. I can break some rules that maybe hospitality or sales, rules, like that customer's always right rule. Well, that's not, we don't live in that world. The customer most of the time isn't right. And I have that freedom, whether it's right or wrong. I have a freedom to maybe break those rules, step outside of the box, and not have somebody above or above them come down on me for a decision I've made, because there is nobody above.
So, let's move on to some different things, challenges. What's the greatest challenge you faced in the business to date that you've been able to overcome?
For me, you know, we have our roles. I was always in operations, and I'd always had support, specifically on the bookkeeping side of things. There'd always been support. There'd always been someone I could go to. And when you open up your own business, yeah, I could have a check mark on about 85% of the list. But then there was these weak sides to it, and bookkeeping, payroll specifically, managing those items that I'd always had a support system for, even HR. One of the reasons I think I was very successful in the hospitality industry is because I wasn't in front of a computer. I am not necessarily great with computers. I wasn't a great student. So budgeting the time to even sit down and do a lot of this was very difficult for me. And when you're opening up and your budget's next to nothing, your budget's zero or minus thousands, the idea of bringing someone on board to help you out can be daunting because it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned within the first few months, I can't do it on my own. It's better to have someone separated from the business that has experience in your business to understand why you make the financial decisions that you do. And that was something that was a challenge right off the hop that I was naive to. I really was. I really thought we'll just get through and we'll learn as we go. And I bought a software system that manages the business, but nothing outside, none of those little incidentals. When you have to remove a staff member, who's your HR link? Who's somebody that you use, right? So I really, after about 3-4 months, I got into having someone help me with my HR packages, all my health and safety programs, my training packages, and then got right into the QuickBooks side of things and into payroll and really getting into my inventory. Just the paperwork side of things was a weakness for me, and that was a challenge that if I really didn't invest in it, it would have spiraled from there. It would have been a terrible domino effect of trying to catch up while losing focus on what I was doing, and frustrating me too, because when you have your talents, and that's what you have. But you really have to make sure what you're not talented at is covered by somebody and somebody you trust. So that for me was a big challenge for me that I overcame earlier on. And because I stepped back, because I trusted someone else to kind of take on these things, and I exposed myself and what my weaknesses are. And that was a challenge as well, to just admit that you're not going to be able to do every angle of the job. That was a big challenge for me because you have so much confidence in doing what you're doing, but when the shortcomings are there, you get exposed. And so, yeah, like I say, getting someone on board that's going to help me out, and that's somebody I can say, hey, I'm busy, but I need this done, or I need this bill paid, or I need something for a staff member for their inquiries or whatever they need for their life regarding pay or proof of employment or things like that. It's really nice to have somebody that you can fall back on. And I would advise anybody getting into this business is to make sure that you've got a good financial plan, and someone that's going to maintain your weeklies, someone that's going to keep you in check, right? And ask the hard questions. Okay. And the ones that are going to challenge you and say, why do you do it this way? This is another way you could do it. And so finding that person is not easy. But once you do, then you feel like you found a partner almost who is really just a consultant.
So, you talked a bit, when you were at Emma's about having, two, I think they were the owners there, that having them as kind of mentors. On that, with that kind of feeling in mind, what's the best piece of advice that you've received in your career that that stays in your back pocket, that's always there, kind of thing?
I won't reference the gentleman from Emma's back porch, but I would reference this gentleman named Peter Mercanti that started Carmen's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I worked with him, and then his son took over the business. And but Peter was very good at training and very good at kind of explaining why he was successful. And his big thing for me was, and it's very true, might get a little job specific here, but be there for your deliveries, be there for your busy times, be there to see your customers, don't let the staff take too much. Don't let the staff do too much. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye, like I say, we used to talk in the hospitality business, or especially for conventions, and you're doing, thousands of meals over the course of a couple of days. Well, those deliveries of thousands of dollars of food, make sure you're weighing, make sure you're on it. Don't just assume people aren't there to rip you off. And when they get a sense that you're maybe not keeping your eye on the target, that they might start to take advantage. And so really his whole thing for me was and I really learned a lot from him from that side of things, was just to be there when the big purchases are being made and when the major customers are in the building. Be there, be present. It doesn't mean you need to spend 12 hours, 15 hours a day on site. Your key points. For instance, now I'm privileged enough. I said it going in, 18 months of 70-hour weeks, and after that, I will grounded staff that I can trust, and that's what's happened. But it doesn't mean I'm not there for the 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, even in the evening when I see my busiest times and I walk around and I greet my guests. And then I do all my own ordering. I make sure that I'm on I do my own inventories, just to know and let the staff know that you keeping an eye on things.
Really important.
And good people do bad things when they think no one's watching. And so, you can trust, and you can trust, and you can trust, and you can trust. But if they don't think you're watching, bad things can happen, right? So I would say that would be my biggest thing I received from Peter McCanny, was just about being there. Don't just relax.
Interesting. What advice would you give an entrepreneur in our Hamilton, Burlington area, who's thinking about starting a business now? Is there something you could pass on to them?
And one of the things I probably is definitely know, if you're going to have a brick and mortar business, know your bylaws, know where you're allowed, what you're allowed to do. Get a hold of your city councilor and get to know them. Let them know that this is something you're looking to do. It's always nice to have a voice in City Hall that maybe doesn't know you but knows of you. And I would definitely say create your connections early or before you even open. It doesn't matter what the business is, but if you run into bylaw issues, if you run into permitting issues, if you run into neighbors that aren't necessarily the best, to have somebody, maybe not a city councilor, but like, our guy here in Ward 5, Matt Francis, I can text him and he'll text back in a half an hour. And if I have a small issue, I've been going through it right now. I call it extortion. The city calls it permits. I don't know. There's two different ways to look at it. But there's a little bit of nitpicking going on right now in regards to a sign I have on my fence, and that they want me to pay $250 a year to post a sign that says the name of my restaurant in front of my restaurant. And I'm disagreeing with it, and I don't like it. But it is what it is, and I will end up paying. But it's nice to have a guy that inside City Hall that at least can tell me I have to pay it, or hey, maybe I can do something for you. So definitely establish, and then the other side too is look for your business associations inside the area that you are. Almost Burlington probably has 10, Hamilton probably has 20 little business associations, people that can give you a little bit of advice. You have to pay them some membership fees, but it's also just like anything. Like networking. It is just that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You're just getting in front of people, and if it has to pay, you have to pay an annual fee to get in front of people that maybe will never come see you, but they'll definitely probably say something to somebody else. Oh, hey, I heard you go down to Hamilton Beach. There's a little restaurant I heard about. Maybe you try that out. All that little networking really, really works. And so I definitely would say before you get into anything, build some local connections that are easy to get a hold of. There's a lot of people just by Googling that you can just get a name and number or an email and just send something out saying, this is what I'm going to do. What are your thoughts? Do you have any advice for me? Be open to advice. That's another one. I wasn't, and I wish I'd been a little bit more open to advice. Yeah.
So that's been good. That's some interesting stuff there. Brooksy, really, really excellent in terms of stuff you were saying. let's just have a little bit of a fun thing now to close it off. Are you a morning or a night person? I guess you got to be a night person, have you?
I'm definitely a night person, and I have been my entire life. I've had two jobs where I was not in hospitality, and I had to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and do my cues. The domino effect of that was not great on my life because I am a night person and I can't imagine going to bed before midnight. It's just something I've never done.
If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why would you choose that word?
Okay. I actually have this answer without thinking too much, and it would be the word eclectic. I think I surprise a lot of people with what I'm interested in and where my passions lie. And for someone that's not a great student, I sure do love history, and I sure do love science and learning about it. I have many interests all over the map, and that word eclectic is a connection to my dad. After he retired from his job, he started a business called Eclectic Endeavors as a consultant, and my dad was quite the wordsmith. And unfortunately, I lost him over a decade ago now. But that was almost something I took away after he passed away, and said, you know what, I think I like the idea of being an eclectic person and having lots of different interests, and so it's something right there. I would describe myself as eclectic.
Cool. What's keeping you up at night? Apart from the sign,
probably something
apart from the sign on the front.
You know what? I'll be completely honest. What keeps me up right now is we are a small place, and sometimes I have one staff member working, and we are not open late. But what kind of keeps me a little worried or pinned to the business, so to speak, is that if I'm not there and I've got, let's be honest, a female staff member working by themselves, that's a stress for me. The staff have told me to stop, but I do request a text message when they get in their car and a text message when they get home. But they really are pushing me to stop doing that. I come from, I say I have 4 moms. I have my mother and 3 older sisters. And so when it comes down to it, that's a stress for me. And it used to be, are the staff going to show? Are they going to do what I trained them to do? That kind of stuff is fading away now because they've instilled that trust. And so I got to be honest, it's been really refreshing in this summer specifically to be a lot more relaxed and enjoy what I'm doing.
Okay.
I get to go golfing tomorrow. I get to go golfing in the middle of the day tomorrow, and I'm not even worried about it. I'm not even worried about it. It's gonna be amazing.
We'll have to grab a game when I get back. Okay.
I like it.
Mike, thank you for coming on. It's been great seeing you. Great, great hearing your story. I think it's going to be really interesting. Thanks for coming to Canada's Entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It was my great pleasure. And thank you for inviting me to do this.
Okay.
It's a thing and I enjoy it.
Wow. That was some really interesting stuff on building a business locally and some of the things you need to do. And, it's nice to hear the discipline that goes on. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on our website and subscribe on our YouTube channel as well, or in any of the major podcast channels. Thanks for listening to Canada's Entrepreneur, where you meet the entrepreneurs that drive Canada's economy. See you later.